This conference will now be recorded.
It's just very delayed.
I'll make a motion to retain the officers as it current stands.
Okay, second. Discussion? Is there anybody that wants to be a different officer? Okay,
Maybe.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. So now, Mr. Coleman, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Now we need to approve the meetings, the minutes from the December 4th meeting. Is there any additions or corrections to those?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, any conflicts of interest? Or the agenda, any changes or additions to the agenda?
No changes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And now conflicts.
None here.
None.
Travis, Bruce asked me to let everybody know that item number 3 is an extended family member of mine, is my mom's cousin. So he said, just for the sake of everything, I'll still present it like I normally would if you're okay with it, but he did ask me to tell you guys that.
You're not voting.
I'm not voting, but just so you know.
Does anybody have a problem with that? No.
No.
Okay.
Thank you for,
Yep, I usually try.
Okay, and then we need to review the mandatory open meetings law review.
Yep, so he had to run down the state's tree stuff, but that's that packet there. If you remember, once a year, we usually try to do it now every January is what Bruce would like to do. We did it in June last time because the law changed in the middle of the year. So this basically the first meeting of January, we have to just show these to you. There's always copies of them out in the entry there if you want them, or if you want to take them home with you, you a refresher course on what your requirements are sitting on the board and, you know, open meeting violations and all of that stuff. So we just have to look at it every year. It's going to be every January.
Okay, was there any major changes this year?
I don't think there's any changes from the June one. that you guys looked at.
Okay.
Several bills being introduced for changes for next year.
Yep.
Good or bad?
Be about half and half.
Okay, the recommendation meeting for variance number 218 for Putnam Stephanie Carl. So,
All right, so. let's see if we can figure out that. There we go. So this is for a variance request. If you remember, I guess the county commissioners approved a building permit on this one because it was the one that was on the same foundation. It was a building that had burned down. And so as part of that process, they had asked us to go through the regular variance procedure on that existing, basically that existing foundation that was already there, just so we have it on file that it is being put in the same location for the variance because it does not meet the 25-foot setback on one property line. And so with this, they did not, the fee was waived. Normally our county commissioners do waive the fee when it's a fire situation. So there was no fee for it. So this is just going through the process. We would ask that you would make a recommendation to the, I guess, to the Board of Adjustment. And this would go to them the end, the second meeting in January. It's not next Tuesday, but the following one, the 27th, I think.
so on the original one that burned down, was there a building permit issued for that and everything done?
Yeah, and at the time,
Just was it Todd, or was it a different setback at the time?
no, it was probably the same setback, but a lot of those properties, if it was an ag property, we didn't really look at them that close like we do now. And so this one, they did a site plan survey, and that's how they determined that it was too close to the section line on that other end.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, they're still out of any right, and there's no issues there. It's just foundation is already there, and we had issued a permit on it earlier.
That was just to get it in the books to make sure.
Yeah.
In the future, don't have a problem.
Yep.
So it's
I
a
just want to
free,
make sure there wasn't something weird before this.
No.
Something about you.
they're actually bringing it more into compliance now by having the variance in place.
I would make a motion to approve the variance.
Second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The next one is for conditional use permit 499. This is an informational meeting today. And this is for Mark Weinmaster and Stephen Rosen. Mark is currently online. Legal description is lot B2 of the Nelson tract B located over lots 1 to 2, kind of out along the Mill Road. They are requesting a private use campground for their family and friends, not open to the public. They don't want any signage or anything like that. This is one of those scenarios that we have a lot of people that do these kind of things where they have their friends all come up. We don't really have a regulation for it because it's not a commercial campground. But the gentleman, they basically just decided they'd rather just have the permit in place so that their neighbors would know what was going on because they had to send out notifications and do all of that. In most sense, we wouldn't have even required one on this because we don't have anything, so they just have to. They do have to go, the state, their regulation kicks in, anything over 2, basically they have to have a state permit. So we try to kind of follow that, but because he's not open to the public, it's kind of in that gray area. So Mark decided to just go ahead and apply for the CUP just so everybody was aware of it. There's an existing building already on the property. They are not wanting to, like I said, no signage, nothing like that. He did do a drawing for you so you could kind of see. This is an existing shop building, and that was built quite a while ago. And then basically there's 6 pads. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, 7. The pads will be there, electric and water. There's already a well on site. Him and Stephen both live in Colorado. Their kids live, Mark's kids live in Rapid. Kind of just a place to come to. So, zone park forest, we allow campgrounds as a conditional use permit in that zoning district. Existing access, this is already in place, so there's already a driveway there and has been. He is installing, having a turnaround just so it's easier to get in and out of there. But it's already laid out that way because the shop's already there. That's really all I have. And he did do a write-up for you. There's a written summary in here. He went through the ordinance and explained all the different sections. There's the map. He did provide a site plan survey. This just showed, because that was an existing structure, so they wanted to show where it's at on the property. And then that he has had, water testing and that kind of stuff done on the well already. And then this was the existing septic system that was designed in 2021. Steiner's, their ultimate goal was to build a house out there, but that never happened. It just was the shop. So that's existing. And then there was a fire plan done on it originally when it was broken and sold in B1 and B2. So that's the overall. Like I said, Mark is online if you guys have any questions for him or anything. That's the gist of it.
Mr. Weinmaster, do you have any other comments you'd like to make? Can you hear us?
I can. I don't believe I have any questions for you, gentlemen. It's just like Amber explained, it's for our own private use.
So I don't know if you guys want to do, sometimes you will choose to do an on-site. If you want to, you can drive out there. I mean, the driveway's in existence. It's pretty easy to find, or if you wanted to go out, you can let me know. And run out there too if it's something that you want to see. Or if you want to do a joint on-site, I don't know.
Anybody need to do that? Want to do that?
I don't know, they need to do a joint or a full group.
Could just drive by. So from the ordinance standpoint, from the CUP standpoint, is there any difference between a private use and a public use?
Not really, well, we don't usually issue, like, we have people that,
Mhm.
you know, they have their friends and family come and stay at their property all the time.
People just do it.
They just do it. In this scenario, he just wanted to make sure that he, you know, that everybody knew about it. I don't know if he would really need one in this case unless we started seeing it, like, we've had people that do it and then all of a sudden, well, geez, I can make money off this and we'll find them online or something. Then that's different.
It's a different, yeah.
You know, because
Yeah,
then
what
they're
is that?
asking for a commercial, that's a commercial use. That's really the difference.
So will one of the conditions of this be that there can't be any charging then?
Yeah, you can, we've done this before where we've had very specific conditions that says how many spots they can have. No signage is allowed, no rental, like, I mean, you've done that on other ones that we've had this happen before. And it's more so, I think, because they do recognize that they don't have a house out there,
Mhm.
that they didn't want to, you know, have any, they just wanted everybody to know about it. And I think that's fair. And if we've always allowed, if somebody wants to go through the process, we won't tell them no, we'll let them.
Mhm.
And then if you put those specific conditions in there, then you would, you know, that's what they would have to abide by for their conditions. And I, from what I understand and having the conversations with Mark, they're perfectly fine with that, like having some specific conditions.
Mhm.
So.
Yep, I appreciate the transparency.
Yeah, I do too.
On this.
I think that's good. He's going through the process to give the opportunity for his neighbors to comment on it.
And I do know, I've talked to a few of the neighbors, there has been some people that have called me and asked me some questions. I told them how to find the packet, it's here. There's also copies, we have some printed ones out here. I'm sure there's some people in the audience today that wanted to come and hear what this was all about, because they did ask about the meeting, so.
Set a public hearing for
Yep, we'll
February
set a
8th.
public hearing for, February 8th, it'll be at 1:30 in this room, and then that'll be the full public hearing. And we go through that regular process. I know the sign already got posted because he was out here before and he wanted to make sure it was up. So he's early. He wouldn't normally get it till today. And I believe it was last week, Mark, that you already sent the notifications out to, correct?
Correct. I have all
Okay.
the receipts with me and I can bring them up to you on the 8th.
Okay. So that has already taken place. So the next meeting would be, for that one, would be February 8th at 1:30. All right,
Okay, and that's all we gotta do for that one, right?
that's it, because it's just an informational today.
Okay, and then the discussion on Powder House Pass.
Yep, and I believe, that's you, yep, okay, you're here. Right, unless, I wasn't really gonna go over much, I'll just let you, they did have this memorandum that had come through and been in their packet already. This is basically, I'll give a quick one, this is basically related to some discussion that has taken place on how we are going to count commercial units up at Powerhouse Pass. You know, originally it was 72 acres and or lots. That's how it was in the original stuff. But what does that mean? Now we're getting actual commercial usage. You know, we have those storage buildings that went up. Is that gonna be each individual one goes, is it 72 acres or 72 lots? I don't know how to answer that. We've had discussion back and forth. And our suggestion was maybe we need to have that discussion here and also have it at county commission, because the old, it didn't, at the time, they didn't really know what was gonna happen because it was a PUD and they were still kind of trying to plan out the commercial usage. Is that fair enough? And then,
Mr. Chairman, I think the example that we gave, so I think the cash vendors themselves were gonna put some storage units in, the more conventional ones that we're familiar with. On one side of the highway, just the garages, right? On the other side of the highway were the other kinds of units, the ones where they would have a bathroom in them. And so for the cash vendors one on the other side of the road, we would consider that to be one development, basically unit the same as a house.
because there was no infrastructure.
No infrastructure. So then we go across the street and we have these individual units that can be sold individually that have bathrooms in them. And so we never contemplated this originally. This is a new concept. So how do we treat them? We sort of defaulted, at least to start off with, that each of those individual units would be treated as one residential unit to come off of their total. But they're probably not the same as a residential unit out there in terms of prospective use. I think this agreement sort of addresses it. The use that they've experienced out there with the size of the houses and the number of bedrooms, There might be 30, 50 people in some of those houses at a time. So they're not conventionally getting 3 to 5 people living there, if that makes sense, right? And so when one wouldn't expect that these units that we're talking about with the bathrooms in them are going to have families like that in there. So the proposal is to try to find a way to quantify these things, and I think they've broken it out basically into 3 separate categories, at least for discussion purposes.
Yep. So what we're looking at is having a discussion today, and then I would like this to go, it'll go all the way to county commission. And then this would help quantify how we keep track of how many commercial units is allowable out there. That's really what we're looking for. Is that fair?
I should add one thing too, and I think the memo references this as well. So everything is, at present, is sort of treated equally, and so there is the opportunity for more commercial out there. It might be something different than storage units like we're talking about. It could be a restaurant, it could be a bar. So with, employee bathrooms, customer bathrooms, and so our current scheme would treat that as one unit. I think their proposal would treat that, would classify it a little bit higher, considering the actual potential use of it and how it's being taxing the system. And I think importantly, as we talked about, I think the CIDs had input into this as well. And we'll speak for them obviously, but I think they would support this kind of newer kind of structure as well. So I'll stop talking. Okay.
So was this the ones that were like the executive storage units with
That's what.
hot water heater, bathroom, you pull a camper in, do whatever? Or...
Yeah.
You can pull a camper in, but they're not meant to live in because they don't meet the fire code.
Right, but you can pull a camper in.
You can pull a camper in there and there's a single restroom, toilet, sink, and then a wash sink.
Yeah.
That's-
But yes, that's what, those building permits is what has led us to
Right.
this conversation, because then it came down to,
What's the water usage gonna be?
I don't know how to do it. So then that's where we said, well, if you guys have, something that you want to present to help us come to that, we would be open to that. And that's kind of where we're at now. So I'll let you kind of, maybe if you want to go through some of it, either one of you.
Sure. Well, thanks. You did a great job
We
of
tried.
the introduction. I appreciate that. And that was a very good question because that's exactly where it came out. It was our understanding, well, actually, as we went through this, there was really no answer to address the current situation, which the old way, and I guess the conservative way, would have been to limit really greatly the potential use of those, the commercial property out there. And so Bruce and Amber were nice enough to meet with us to talk about potential solutions. And it was recommended we actually have a study conducted and performed by our engineer and quantify a little bit more so that everyone kind of has a clear picture of the impact on the system as far as water and sewage. And so that's what we've done. And I understand you have the technical memo from Trent Walters, who is here. He's an engineer with AE2S. I'm sorry, I'm Greg Erlinson, and I'm a lawyer. I help out with development a little bit here and there. And so we did get confirmation from the CID that they are fully on board with this concept and proposal. And with that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Walters.
Okay, so Trent Walters with AE2S. So I prepared the technical memo. So we do have with the master plan, and since having the master plan, there's a facility plan for when they expanded, the CID expanded their wastewater treatment facility. So there is a total value that treatment facility can treat water coming through. So initially there's the 72 or 74, I believe, the commercial lots allocated. And so if we were to keep that 74 based on each of these units, that would eat up the entire commercial for the development. Whereas they have all this additional storage capacity that can run through their wastewater treatment facility. So what we're proposing here is not amending or changing the master plan or the facility plan, but taking those commercial units that are designated in a cap of 74, and then taking South Dakota design standards for how much certain commercial properties use of wastewater on average. So what we're proposing for this first building or these storage units are to use 30 gallons per day, and that's based on South Dakota design standard data, how much we anticipate someone flushing the toilet in those units. And it is a conservative number. If you get down and break those values into if you flush a single toilet, you have roughly 1.5 gallons used in a flush. Same as washing your hands for a minute, roughly 1.5. So that's a total of 3 gallons that you're using every time someone uses the restroom. And if someone uses that restroom in each of those units 10 times a day is what we're proposing at that 30 amount. So it's a very conservative number that we would likely never see that amount of water coming through these units, but we have to pick a value to use. And that's what we've landed on, is that 30. And so based on the facility report for the WRF, which is the treatment facility, that's each resident is planned to use, I believe it's 3 people per house, 100 gallons per day per person. So that's 300 gallons per day. And so that currently is for a single family residence. And that's what each residence goes off of. The same with the commercial. It uses 300 gallons per day value. That's where that 74 cap came from. And so, but we're using these 30 gallons per day, so it doesn't make sense 300 versus 30. So we're proposing you take the 300, divide it by 30, and that's where you get that a tenth of a commercial unit for each of these storage units. And then, so that's just this scenario for this unit. Moving forward, like he was saying, if a bar, we would use the South Dakota design standards. They give you an average of what a typical bar will use in wastewater. And that could be, if that's above the 300, let's say it's 600 gallons per day, then you would have two commercial units used up with that facility, that bar facility.
So in these units, then, are you gonna limit to water used to flush in a toilet and washing hands?
It's, so there's different criteria that go into those, and those are set with the South Dakota design standards. So those aren't numbers we would come up with, but those are numbers you can, it's all based on averages. And it's
Right, I understand that, but if
yeah.
I was to pull my camper into that unit and hook my camper up to that water unit and then use it for showering,
Which is not,
cooking,
which is not the intended use of phase 1 units.
what about if I pull my ATV outside that unit and use that water to wash my ATV?
Yep, so that's why this is a conservative, very conservative. So I'm saying you would have to use the bathroom 10 times for every unit every day. So it's a really conservative number, but we do have to pick a number. And so that's why we landed at that 30. And we base that off of data that we have available to us with design standards. So this is based on like this type of building. That's that value. They gave us a range, and this 30 is on the upper end of that range. I believe the top was 35. So it went 20 to 35 gallons per day. So we've landed on that 30 gallon per day for these specific units. And then moving forward, what A2S is proposing, and it would just, it doesn't have to be A2S particularly, but an engineer would set up a unit equivalency table. So for these units, they would be 30 gallons per day. For a bar, it would be so many gallons per day based on those design standards.
But then all that feeds into the central unit that only manages X number of gallons per day.
Yeah, and that's that whole treatment facility. I think I have that written down here. It's quite a large, because it was quite an expansion on their treatment facility. So they have the capacity. And so that's what would be monitored through doing it this way. The CID then has the ability to make sure that they're not putting in too much commercial to overload what they have the ability to treat. So it's really we're kind of zeroing in on a way to manage the sewer for commercial units of a powerhouse. So
From a select number of units.
yeah, for per usage, the type of usage it's using, and then that determines.
And then to allow for future expansion
Yep.
to make sure.
Yeah, that we're not putting in too much commercial that would overload that system. Because then you have the housing as well. And then just that 300 gallons per day, that was updated on our facility plan when they expanded the treatment facility. And that has been backed up with the usage flow now that's been going through. And that's right in that gets used, because at Powerhouse, it varies. You can have a unit during holidays or the rally, then those peak flows, they peak during those times. But on average, that's what we're seeing. So that was a good estimate with the facility plan. And so that's where that is a good number to stay at. So, as we've evaluated that.
Sure. Trent, are you here on behalf of the CID?
So we represent both BH Development and the CID. So we work, we're a consult for both.
Does it make sense to everybody? There's like sort of the, I'll call it the developer side, and then there's the governmental, the CID side, just to keep that all straight. And so, but if I came in, if I'm a new developer and I was gonna put in a restaurant, I would go talk to you as part of the CID part of it.
Yeah.
And so does that make sense? So the governmental entity part of it is the one doing the quantification, kind of on a, it's their system, right? So you would wanna make sure that you track it.
Yep, base by base, they would track, like this bar is gonna use this many gallons per minute based on the table that we put together. And then if it doesn't necessarily fit that number, then we can adjust and move.
So we would assume that any future development that is exactly like this, that same would apply to
If
those
it's the
units.
same case, same
Yeah.
scenario. If it's not, let's say like they had a shower in.
Well, and that's why I'm asking, because
Then it
I
would
can
be
have
a
a camper
different-
in there
Yeah,
and have a shower in my camper.
so if we were allowing them to keep those campers and stay like overnight, like later phase down the line, which right now that's not possible because that's not part of the approved development plan. And so, but in the future, we would reclassify those particular units to have a higher number.
So I think how I see this working, if you guys were okay with, I mean, they kind of gave you, I just pulled up the part that's like, this is sort of their table, we'll say, they would create a table. I would like to see that either, probably as an amendment to their existing plan. You would add that amendment in there just so we had it for future.
Agreed.
And then I would probably require, what I'd like to see before we would issue a building permit on any commercial permit out there, I would probably want something from either the CID or you guys that would say, hey, this is the, kind of like this one, this is the usage, this is what we're doing. So I would feel more comfortable not issuing a building permit till we have that, because I look at it as equivalent. We don't issue a building permit on a house if they're on a septic system without knowing the gallons. So that would be, I do also think the table needs to be a memorandum. That's kind of what they did as a technical memorandum, but this is not listed in the ordinance, and for sake of when I'm no longer here and I don't remember this, how do we make sure it stays with the PUD? So I think we would want to do an amendment to the master plan. That's what I was trying to think of. The
Okay.
amendment to the master plan, and we have done that over the years. But I think there's a section in the master plan that basically said it would be determined, it was kind of very vague language of how they were going to determine that usage of a commercial lot, because at the time, we didn't know what they were gonna do. So I think we're at that time now, that now they're saying this is the best way to determine it. That needs to be put into the master plan. So then going in the future, if I'm not here or somebody else, they can go, oh yeah, that's right, they have to do, every time commercial lot gets approved, we need something from the CID saying, yep, capacity is still okay. That's my thought.
Chairman? I think it might be beneficial that they don't wait till the building permit period, but when they first bring a project to us,
Yep.
they're aware, they explain to us their water usage and things at that time.
Yep.
So
And
you
now I
cover-
think we'll
yeah.
have that. Before, we just went off of what we had. and
Right.
Through the process of talking, we're like, okay, we need to come up with a better format for commercial units, because housing is easy.
Mhm.
They have a capacity for so many houses, that's what we base it off of. Now this is a little different animal, so I think this will be better.
Right, and we're dealing with a new concept here.
Yeah.
From a commercial standpoint.
Yeah.
So just trying to make sure that, everything's gonna work as it's intended to
Makes
work.
sense.
Chairman? I'll filibuster a little bit while you guys maybe are thinking. So we don't have this reduced down to, as Amber said, into the amendment to the master plan or to the development agreement or anything. And perhaps maybe you want to see it reduced down into writing. Again, I'm presuming that you're okay with what's being proposed, perhaps not. If that's the case, then we would bring it back to you again at planning and zoning at your next meeting for you to make a recommendation then to the county commission at some point. I guess alternatively, if you're confident in what you're hearing today and that we can reduce it into some kind of an agreement that's workable, I suppose you could make a recommendation today. And we could get it on the county commission agenda for the 13th, but it would be on probably as soon as the 27th, maybe. But I'm just laying out some options there, a path forward for you to consider. And maybe you want to see it in a more final form before you act on it as well. It's just a matter of first impression, maybe give it some more thought for a month.
What I think the intention was is we have this today, it is on the agenda in front of the county commissioners on Tuesday as kind of a, like, let you know what's going on, sort of a thing. Because we didn't really want to work, what if you guys didn't agree with what they're kind of looking at, then we can work on, I would say, the process part of it, you know, of how, because I don't think we can, this is not in ordinance format. I have to make it in an ordinance format, I feel. And that would, the best way for me would just to do an amendment to the master plan, following the regular procedure. You have your table and all of your explanation right there.
Would we be able to have that for the next meeting?
I think I could get it ready for, once we know that you're okay with, we know how to deal with the table part, that's what we really need to know. And so their thought process is what you have right here, is they would have so much based on the commercial usage. What's the usage going into it? And then is it 150 gallons, and then what the units are gonna be. And then it'll be easy when we issue a building permit like this one was, what, 6 units? I can't remember how many.
First phase is gonna be 8 units.
8 units. So then we would say, okay, well, this is 8 units based on this usage. And then we can put that in our table that we already have that keeps track of how many residential units. We would now have a column for commercial units. So that's kind of the whole process in a nutshell, but it was just, we didn't have a way to figure it. And that's where we're at now.
I don't think there's anything pressing here, is there? So, I mean,
No, and I think if I may, I think that would be the next step. If you guys are okay with this idea approach, then we would move forward with updating the master plan. And that's what would be, I guess, voted on. Essentially.
Yep. So I don't think you vote necessarily here unless there's, you know, if, I'm not hearing from anybody that you're totally against it. Now, we don't have the final format, so we don't know exactly what it could look like, but it's a starting point. And right now, I don't have any way to determine commercial units. So we've got to do something. And we kind of kept going back to, well, when we do a house, we base it on, well, the state law bases it on how many bathrooms, how many bedrooms. And then if you remember, in a couple years ago in our septic system, we increased the amount of usage because of vacation rentals. That got increased. I think this is kind of doing the same thing, but we're basing it on usage, which is what it should be based on.
I'm the only one, but I like the idea. I think it makes some sense.
Yeah. We don't necessarily know what those businesses are gonna be right now.
We don't.
So we're just finding a way to figure out how much a certain kind of business uses for water.
Yeah, if they're gonna have 3 bathrooms and the usage is, you know, I don't know, 50 people, then that's gonna adjust how much usage they have and how much capacity they need.
Okay. Any other questions?
I don't think you need to make a decision one way or another today, correct?
if you're okay with what's proposed, if we proceed, then we will go to the next step of reducing that into a more final format
Yeah.
for you to consider at your next meeting in February. And then make anticipating a recommendation following that county commission.
Well, I think this will still be on the commission agenda on Tuesday.
Give you guys
Right,
an update.
just so everybody knows kind of where we're going with it. Okay, that's all we need then. Does that work for you guys for now? That kind of gives you a general idea.
Yes,
Then,
thank you very much.
like I said, it'll be in front of the county commissioners on Tuesday as well. Okay, thank
Thank
you.
everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Moving
See
to
you
block.
next Thursday night.
Yeah.
That's right.
Number 5 is the final plat for Matt and Jamie Wood.
All right, so this one is lot 3 of track G, which is 11 people to block 3, off of Last Chance Trail. And this one, there is a fire mitigation letter in there. It's a final plat only. Pull it up here. Let's try and- We'll make it bigger for you so you can see it. So This is lot 3, right down in here. Last Trans Trail comes down this way. I believe, yep, the right one here. So this one, the subdivision was created in the 60s, small lot, high residential area. So this is Cherokee, you kind of know up in there. Lots of growth. Existing lots are grandfathered with small lot sizes as long as we have an engineer design for an individual septic system. There's no, it does have public water system, but it is on individual septic. Fire plan has been completed. So this was being a portion of 11 through 14, block 3, all of lots 34 through, it was a bunch of those little tiny lots that we had up there.
And they're gonna put it all into one? Lot 3?
Yep.
Or what's the actual change here?
If they're combining some of the lots, it looks like it did match the approved preliminary plat that we've already approved.
Okay. So this is just the final.
It's just the final, yes, you guys had already approved the preliminary, and it combined, I don't remember exactly how many lots together, but.
Okay, any other questions?
Move to approve the preliminary,
Second.
or the final, whatever it was.
Final.
Okay, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, number 6, final plat and preliminary plat for David and Nicole Edwards.
This one is lot 11A, block 19, Apple Springs, being part of Apple Springs tract, formerly lots 11 and 12. It is a preliminary and a final. We are combining the 2 lots into 1 lot, its own suburban residential, already, HOA, community water system, sewer system, all of that stuff. The fire plan was originally done with the development plan. There's a house on lot 11, nothing on lot 12, so they're just making it bigger.
Any questions?
Move to approve the preliminary and final.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, layout plan for Jeff Miller.
This one, Brad is here. So this one is a layout plan only, so we're just starting through the process. So to give you a general idea, I want to kind of lay out, so these lots that are right here, adjacent to this property, these were approved in Spearfish's jurisdiction. Because remember, we switched that jurisdictional line here the last couple of years, so that's why this is now coming to us. So originally, we wouldn't have looked at it, it would have just gone to the city of Spearfish, but since we switched that line, now we have one of those kind of things there. I give that to you because there was already a subdivision approved out here, and they were owned by Jeff Miller at the time, so he had already done that. And then he left it alone and decided to go ahead and, he still owns land out there, wants to finish this off, so that's why it's lots 5 through 8. That's the numbering. It is 45.82 acres. There was 140 acres originally. Zone park forest, 10 acres required to subdivide, so he meets all of those requirements. Looking at 4 lots out there on that 40 acres, so it's a little bit larger lots. They subdivided through the city of Spearfish. Access to the lots would be from the previous platted place, which is already out there. That's the name of the road. It's a 66-foot public right of way that ends at the bottom of lot 4. The plan is to continue it onto the new lots as a private access and utility easement. The road will continue south to another property, as the layout plan shows it on here. There are concerns if the road to the new lot should be private access. And if the back road would be too long, that was our concerns that we had, and we've already talked to Brad about those. But this is one of those unique situations that he's not asking for a public right of way. So can I really require those requirements? They have been made aware that the fire plan would need to be obtained and mitigated done prior to the final platting of our normal process. We did question whether or not a letter of credit or an MOA would be required for preliminary platting because of the infrastructure question. It kind of goes back to if it's a private access, you know, what do you want to do there? So those were kind of our questions that we had brought up. Like I said, Brad was aware of those questions, but we kind of needed to see what the overall process was going to be before we went through there. So this is the preliminary plat here. The 4 lots, so this is where you would come in right here. And then you've got the road this way. This would be the extension that, you know, we were talking about as a private access. Coming up this way, here's your 4 lots on that 45 acres, and then there'd be, so they'd have to build this road and then build this way. And then this is basically the driveway that comes to the back property.
Can I jump in and add some stuff?
Yes, you
All right. So the road that comes in from the south, so like she said earlier, this area here was platted through the city of Spearfish. They wanted to make that a private access, private driveway, gated community type. And that was done and approved, and it's completed and sold. Those lots are gone. This is his existing driveway that comes down to his house. So there's an existing road there now, and he's built in an actual existing road down into that cul-de-sac, but it's not finished. But this is his existing driveway up to his house. And so that would be what's being created as an access easement. I also noticed something on here. So community, it says community well. I think his intention is to have individual wells. If 2 of those lots decide they want to do a well together in a share agreement, that's kind of on them, but he's not trying to create a new water system up there for everyone. But, and then the other piece of that is there's a portion of ground left on this side. It's kind of hard to see on that, but that piece is being purchased as an aliquot part by one of the gentlemen that's already purchased one of the other parcels of ground, with the understanding that it doesn't have a building right because it's less than 40 acres. So I don't know if that confuses things or explains it better, but there's an existing road there.
It does or does not have a building right?
The
It
other one
will not.
Okay.
because
They're aware of that.
They're not platting it, so I can't, he can sell it. I
Yeah.
can't stop him from selling it.
Right.
But if they would come to me to try to get a building permit on that, I would say, well, there's no building right attached. And he was fine with it because he's basically the backyard to where his house is. He just wants to own the land. The other guy does.
And then the long term of it is, at this point, Jeff wants to keep everything that he owns to the south of that, which would be like the south half of that. So like, he doesn't have an intention to continue to develop the areas, is my understanding. So this is, he did those 4 lots up there through the city of Spearfish, and then he's now doing these larger lots, and he's wanting to keep his existing home, and his existing
tower.
piece. Yes.
This is the tower property,
If you're,
way at the back.
Chairman, may I speak? If you have any heartburn with this at all about, he does own more property. When he came through the city, those were for friends and family, and he was not gonna do any more subdividing ever. And that was less than a year ago. And so, take a look at this as if he's gonna develop the whole thing, because his
That's what I was-
history follows him. Sorry, but I had a lot of hours with this gentleman in my office. I'm disappointed with this, but I'm sure it meets ordinance, so.
And he is extending this easement to the property.
His property line.
To his property line.
What length does that make the cul-de-sac? Is there anything with that?
Well, that's the question I had was, it's private access.
Yeah, it's private road.
I don't
so-
know if, my regulations are for, if he was asking for a public, I'd say it doesn't meet the ordinance.
So is that private access then? Is it dedicated specifically to these lots? So if more lots are made down here to the south, then.
Well, this is the layout plan right now, so we wouldn't have it. You could, I think you could ask for that the private access is specifically for those lots, so that there's no question. I mean, we've done that before, where, you know, as you write your access.
There would have
easement
to be some
agreement, you
sort
have
of
to
who
have
it's
some sort of
for.
agreement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Present and the future.
And the other piece of this is this existing road here. You can see that the access goes to here, but then it shows an existing road here. So this existing road here is his driveway now. He's already brought in a road around this way to tie in there, so there's no, where it shows a driveway there now, that's not gonna be his driveway access to his house. I mean, he's gonna come down that road to his house, but that piece that's shown on there as an existing driveway will not be his existing driveway, and that's why there's not an easement shown there.
Does he not have a road that ties into the subdivision over to the, on this map to the right?
Yeah, so he has through his property here, as this continues down his shops, it's down right in here. He's cut in a road and a trail over here to Centennial Estates.
Something, yeah.
And so he has a very passable road through there for emergency, and he's willing to give a fire egress emergency access through there.
And it, on the Centennial side, when that subdivision was created years ago, and that's been
Long
20
time.
years ago.
Yeah.
There is 2 points of access out of that onto like the adjacent properties, just for future, because they didn't know for sure what was gonna happen.
This is just your house, right?
Yeah.
It's adjoining to the left.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not your house, but at least Bob's
Yeah.
land.
It's further.
This one?
Yeah, my house would be down it.
This
Here.
property should not abut any of the Ewing property. Directly.
No, this is,
It's
Further down?
closer.
Not these 4 lots, no.
Correct.
no,
It's
these,
other land, yeah.
he's got his own personal property in between these and what would be my dad's place.
Yeah, go ahead, Bruce.
Amber, question, in terms of the exemption for the driveway or the road, the access road, we have, is Deer Mountain an example of that? And we have to be consistent with that? Is that a fair question?
This is a layout plan, I haven't even gotten that far,
Okay, I'm just trying to.
so
make
I'm not gonna
identify-
answer that right now, yeah.
Make sure we're doing things
I
the
think
same
it's,
way.
well, it's very similar to the one that you just approved up on Deer Mountain, where they have that emergency access.
Yep.
You know, where it came out the bottom. And I think you would almost have to have that in place, which he's already kind of aware of. Jeff is having it extend out to come around
As an emergency.
as an emergency
Yep.
access, yeah.
So there's another 78.7 acres to the south of this thing.
Pretty close to that, yeah.
So there's more lots.
This is layout only, so I mean, we don't have like road stuff or any of that yet. It's just the layout.
So just to refresh our memory, when we approve a layout plan, what does that actually give them the ability to do?
It just tells them if they want to move forward to a full preliminary plat process, because the preliminary, he's gonna have to do the fire plan, we're gonna have to look at the roads more. Like, so it's kind of taking them to that next step if they choose to.
It kind of identifies to us what
What are
concerns
the
and what
concerns
areas
that you
to
have?
look at and address potentially if there's.
I think this should have to meet the public access requirement. Because it's gonna be public access someday.
So I'm just thinking out loud here, if it's gonna be like a private driveway that services a number of lots, is it a good example if that's true? Is it like a gated community then? Is that sort of, maybe it's not a gated community, but I'm trying to think of a good perspective or an example.
Yeah, I think that's what the intention was, I think. I don't know. So there is gates on both of those sides. I haven't been up there since, those 4 lots were sold, and I think the 4 lots were sold to like 2 different people. But that was the intention on that piece, is it was gonna be gated and private. And then there'd be a access key or something for emergency vehicles to have access.
Do you ever envision, and it may be maybe out of your control, well, maybe not, I'm thinking about City of Spearfish's rules, but you don't envision ever any through access through here, is that fair?
There is through access into Centennial Lake for sure.
Not as public, yeah, I think through access is a public thing. No, that wasn't his intention. And I know when they did those 4 lots, we extended it to the end of the property line, and there's a cul-de-sac there that meets the IFC code on the end of that cul-de-sac, all the way through on those 4 lots. And then they had to also get a modified Y approval on the front before it even entered the property for emergency turnaround as well.
So, I mean, it would be controlled access at the very least at both ends, then, is that a fair statement?
Correct, yeah.
Like a gate or whatever?
Putting a gate change anything in our ordinances? I don't remember ever dealing with
It's not
gate
public.
before.
If it was public, you could put a gate on it,
Right.
Mr. Chairman?
but it's private, so no.
I think historically, Amber, correct me if I'm wrong, that everything was always publicly dedicated, pretty much as a general rule, reflexively, automatically. And as of late, that sort of changed to sort of this other model of more private roads and maybe not necessarily gated community, but not private access. So this is kind of another example of that, it seems to me.
And we're gonna see more and more of this because of the 231 case. I mean, we pushed it more of, you take care of your access and,
I can
figure it out.
Is there any issues with having a private road tie into that public road in the Centennial States?
Well, the Centennial, we
I
have
don't
this,
think that's not a public road right there.
Centennial Acres is the road district.
Well, we gotta think of health and safety and they have.
No, Centennial Acres is, I think, but where you go to this place,
Doc's Place is public,
Doc's
Doc's Place is public.
up until till it reaches this.
right at
and
that
then it goes
intersection.
to private. Yeah, but Doc's Place was a public road. from
Isn't the little
originally.
cul-de-sac on the previous 4 public?
No,
No,
So it's private.
we did go private on that?
it's
Okay.
public to his property line, and then south of his property is
I think it's
not private property anymore.
Yes. So if this is intended to be private road, who is gonna be responsible for the snow removal?
So they'll have
on this road?
a road district and.
They have a road district.
Then it becomes public.
Yeah, road district makes it public.
It could be a homeowners association, but yeah, if it's a road district by state law, if the road district maintains the road, it's publicly dedicated, even though it's not done so on plat. That's my interpretation of statute.
Chairman, you got some help.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Mr. David.
having been before this board a few times in the last decades, the pattern that we've seen recently since the 231 litigation was it was at that time the preference of the commission to go public, so we did not have people coming in and make an action to have the commission take over the roads. And so what we've seen to keep them private is an HOA or some type of agreement to maintain those roads so it doesn't become the county's responsibility. I would also add that the piece that goes south of the turnoff to the cul-de-sac, since it's only servicing one lot, is a driveway, not a road. And we've made that distinction historically in the county between driveways and roads. If it's going to service, more than 2, then it becomes a road, which is classified different from a design criteria and ordinance criteria. So I think what's being proposed here is consistent to what we've seen as having a private road system so the county does not get people coming in and saying, hey, it's your road, maintain it. And that's been the caution, and there's commissioners in the room that have experienced that. The caution that we've had for the commissioners not to be forced to take it on the road system like 231 was. And so that's, in my time and working on the ordinances all these years, that's what I've learned. So I thought I'd share it.
Thank you.
I have a question, probably for Randy.
Yeah.
231 is a court case?
Yeah, 231, and Bruce can jump in. It went to the court system locally because the local court told us that we had to maintain it because it was ours. I'm paraphrasing terribly. Went to the Supreme Court and they didn't act on that part of the matter. They acted on little part of it. So we had to then take that into our system, take care of it, put culverts in, and now we go up there deadheading with our snow plows to remove it, or to remove the snow. And that was a court order to the county to do that, or we'd been in contempt at the time. So that really cautioned and the commissioners from taking on public right of way, because there was an old easement out there that was ambiguous that created the whole problem. Okay. And if you look historically at it, the federal government and the state government could not acquire access. So the counties acquired the access and gave it to those people. And I think this deed, if I remember, fell into that time period. And since it was our easement, the court ordered us to maintain the road. Did I cover that fairly well?
Maybe, Chairman, so as in that example, it doesn't matter, it was a Forest Service road. We ended up getting it. But there are other examples where there are publicly dedicated roads. By Nemo, for example, Troxel Lane is an example of that, where it's publicly dedicated, but it's not on the governmental system. And so folks always assume if it's publicly dedicated, that there must be a public entity that's in charge of it, county, city, state, somebody. Well, there's a recent Supreme Court case about 3 or 4 years ago that said, no, actually, no, you can't actually have publicly dedicated roads that are not part of a governmental system. But that was the idea, I think, behind some of this recent changes, is that if it's never public, that lessens the argument that anybody could ever make, and or the expectation that they would have that the county or somebody else would assume it later on, right? It's always been private, says it on the flat, there's just no arguments. And so I think that's sort of the background, for the additional background.
Mr. Chairman, if I just follow up a minute. If it's not public access, it's real difficult to petition the county to put it on the road system.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It meets the ordinance. So.
Yeah.
More than you wanted to ever know about that.
Yeah, and I do think Brad and I will have continued discussion, because I do have some concern, and I had said that I'm not as concerned about it being a dedicated public right of way. Like, that doesn't really matter. It can be dedicated private. It's if they can't meet the length requirement, I do think we would ask for an exception to they could do it as long as they had an emergency access out. That's kind of how we've treated them in the past. And we have other subdivisions showing that example, but we still want to make sure there's a secondary form out, even if it's, not a fully developed road, but you could still get out if you had to. That's kind of the bigger concern.
Would it be beneficial if that driveway going to his barn or whatever it is showed its access out to where it ultimately goes to on the plat?
I think you would dedicate it as how have we done it before? We've dedicated it, like, there's been a notation on the plat that basically says this driveway, like the extension, is dedicated as a emergency access only, or something to that.
Yeah.
You'd want to have that extension for sure.
I'd like to see that.
And that would come out onto Centennial. And then I know on the Centennial side, because I've looked at it, there is already there's a spur, we'll say, off of the road that was dedicated to the property line already. And it says something to the effect of, it was for emergency purposes or future access or something.
There's been a lot of discussion between the two neighbors,
Yeah.
or between him and Centennial, and that road's way better than it's probably ever been. I can say that. It's pretty drivable through there.
I guess I'm confused here, because they talk about a gated community, gates on both ends, but yet we're talking about having a road district, road maintenance.
You can't have road district. They won't be, if it's
A
private,
homeowner's
you
group
can't. It has
sounds
to
like
be
the
an
way
HOA.
with an agreement.
Because the road district would automatically make it public. So if they would make it public, then they would have to meet the public standards. Does that make sense?
So then the HOA can collect funds to plow the road.
Yeah.
This is the same thing that a road district can do.
Legally,
It'd be a tax,
HOA and road district.
Sure.
but it stays private.
So for the road district, the road district certifies amounts each year to the auditor's office, who then, the treasurer's office then collects the amounts when people come to pay their taxes. And so if you don't pay your road district assessment, you don't pay your property taxes, you can be in default for your property taxes, right? So, and then the county remits the money. A homeowners association has nothing to do with the county. It's that contractual relationship that they have amongst the homeowners and how they share obligations and assess dues on themselves, right? And so, yeah.
And usually road districts, they can't. Because it's a public right of way. So we have to make that distinction when the plat comes in, we have to know that, what they're gonna do.
They could start off private and decide that they want to have a road district. And then again, I think that implicates that the road becoming publicly dedicated, and that could bring a whole bunch of issues that no one wants to deal with. So I would suggest they be cognizant of that and talk to a smart lawyer who deals with those kinds of things if they ever decide they want to try to do that.
Because it could make it that they have to change the road width.
It makes.
Or they'll be in here asking for variances on everything.
There's not usually a lot of variance on,
They'd have to do that.
on the road
It's more
width
of a
and
law
stuff.
case.
So could we just put the remainder in the layout plan as well? Will it be platted off or what will it be?
It'll just be a remainder.
I'll have to, are you talking the south half?
I think they want to see the remainder of the acreage that he owns.
Yeah,
and
just
how the
put it all
access
in there.
comes through.
You want it as an additional lot, or you,
Yeah, just make it another lot.
Or just show us what it is, where it's at.
okay,
I would assume it could be a remainder.
Yeah.
okay, yeah, we can give you the
But
acreage,
to
that's not a
prove
problem.
that where we're concerned about the access for
Okay.
them to get out. and
Show
put
it on the-
paper.
Yep.
And record.
Not a problem.
Yeah.
Would there be any concern that he would have if we asked that road after the cul-de-sac junction be termed a private driveway instead of private access?
You're talking like right here down.
Yes.
We can show it, right here, I think he's got it just as a private access and utility easement. So what they're saying is maybe that portion would just be a private driveway. So instead of it saying private access easement, it would just say private driveway from the extension. That's what you're saying, right, Eric?
Yes.
And then which piece is the one that wouldn't have a building rate?
It's the stuff over here, like, you can't see it on his
Oh,
over
okay.
here. Cause he owns additional that way, but the neighbor,
And you may have already sold that piece.
I
You may
think he
not-
did, I think I saw a deed come through by Eloquent, which they can sell, it just doesn't have a building right on it, cause it's less than 40. Yep.
Okay.
So does that give you some general of
Yep.
what you need to look forward going to, and then
No, it's-
obviously, fire plan is the big one, he does still have to do a
I
fire
don't
plan.
understand where you're going.
Well, maybe because it doesn't-
Are you guys gonna make a recommendation one way or another on the layout usually?
They used up the building right.
And then the county commission will do, what will their action be?
They would do the same thing, it'll go up before the commission and they'll
Okay.
have similar discussion and
But then after that, then they still
they
have
have
to
to
do the
go over
lots.
preliminary and final plat stuff.
Anybody have any thoughts on that? What our recommendation would be?
I get to see it later. I'm not making a motion.
What do you guys think? I'm sure, I'm thinking they'll come back for planning and zoning, won't they?
They still have to go. through
Yeah, with the
preliminary,
plat.
I know, yeah.
Just make sure, right?
Yeah.
So very early process.
I'd like to see a length on that cul-de-sac and have a more
Do
information.
you have
I
that?
think you just like to see what we recommended they put on the
Yeah.
figure so we can see.
Which
it.
you will see at the preliminary plat, that's why you do the layout.
So do you want a length of the cul-de-sac from the center of the ball back to this road, or do you want a length of the cul-de-sac from the center of the road?
Well, I
So
think,
this
yeah,
is
but I think more
private
importantly, we
driveway.
want that section from there down as private
From
drive,
there,
no,
Yeah,
Oh,
the
from-
private driveway from,
Here down would be
yeah.
private drive,
Okay.
Yeah.
lots of distance, I'm assuming
from there down to the
Yeah.
center of
Entrance to the
the,
property.
here,
yeah.
and this, right?
Would that all be considered the cul-de-sac?
Well,
Well,
we
it have to
usually
be,
go the
there's-
distance from the main road.
Yeah.
That's normally, yeah.
Yeah, so that's well over.
It won't meet our cul-de-sac,
Yeah.
and we knew that coming into it. That's why it's a private drive.
Then I think we wanted to see how that tied in down to existing.
Yeah,
roadway.
one of those comes down.
But we still need a recommendation, one way or another.
We recommended the county commission look at it carefully.
Yeah.
Then, I haven't heard that yet.
questions? Anybody?
I'll move to recommend approval just to move this along to the next process. Start the process.
Incorporating all those.
Yeah, is there a way to incorporate our concerns with that? Or our questions?
Or
How we usually do it. Yep.
Perfect, good.
Yep.
with our request, we'll second that.
Okay, discussion?
Yes, you do.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay. So this will be in front of county commission on Tuesday. We'll have similar discussions to see what they have to say, and then that would take it forward to a preliminary and final plat. Okay.
Okay, preliminary and final plat for Halverson, et cetera, and lot 7A of Smoky Mountain subdivision.
So this one.
Looks like a good place to watch. Yeah.
Okay, so this one is, the property is zoned to rural residential. It is lot 7 and tract 1, so you're actually using two pieces. You have one parcel is already inside the existing subdivision, plus they have the stuff on the backside. The subdivision was created in 2006 with a public road system, individual wells and septic systems. We have a fire plan, that was provided in the covenants that was under our old process of fire plans. And the plat does not have, this is that area that we always look at the arsenic levels for the 100 parts per million. We don't have it on this plot, so that's good. The plat is to replat the 66-foot public access easement off of Blue Ridge Road entirely into lot 7 and out of tract 1 of Cliff Mountain Yak Ranch subdivision. So it's kind of a weird situation, but this was kind of found, we'll say, as lots have sold. You can see it here. So you have the larger tract 1 on the back part of this, which is tract 1 of Cliff Mountain Yak Ranch. And then you had this 100-foot, there was an old access easement that came through here, it was the old railroad grade at one point in time. And if you remember, there was a court case quite a few years ago that went away. And then you had Smoky Mountain Ranch, which was right in here. And there's always been question because the original lots went to the center line, I believe, through there is how they had it originally. So it was on both sides of
It
the,
depended on the parcel.
kind of went on the parcel, yeah. So this part right in here, the current lot line is down here.
So
They would like to move it up here.
yeah, the simple piece of this, so like this guy here, there are two different subdivisions. This home here is in Smoky Mountain Ranch. His lot line previously ran right across here, which was on the south edge of the railroad right away. Donald Williamson lives up here, and he owned the entrance road for that development. And so he wanted an extra piece for his yard, essentially. And Donald said, okay, I'll give you up to the grade break on the railroad. But if I give you that, I don't want to own this road that's not in the development that I own. So he said, if you want that piece, we can have that piece, we can make an agreement, but you will take the road that your subdivision's in. So that's why the plat is kind of the way it is.
Yeah, so it goes, you can see that there's this little piece here. But the road itself is a dedicated public right of way.
It's a HOA road.
Yep.
HOA.
And then this is an existing driveway, going up to that house up top.
So we're looking at taking what's then that little narrow purple sliver,
This here and then this
adding it
all the way up
into
here.
this lot.
So
It will now be owned by lot 7.
lot line revision is all we're looking at.
It pretty much is a
It's
lot
just
line revision.
So if you go out there and look, you'll never know any different.
Nope.
Motion to approve the preliminary and final plat.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? All right, we need to have attention.
We probably should do it
Move
again.
that it's exempt.
Second. Second.
Okay, discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Move to approve the preliminary and final.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So it was Tisdale and Jennings for the exemption, all right, and then Tisdale Ewing for preliminary final. All right. Next, we are Forebears in the hills, and is that right? Forebears?
Yep.
Forebears in the hills, and Apple Springs. Let's see, we are doing a lot 11A and 13 of block 15. Owners wishing to lot line revision, take lot 12, middle lot, add a portion from lot 11 and into lots 11 and 13. There's a current home on lot 11, no improvements on the other lots, so they're just moving the lot line. This is what it'll look like. So basically, both lots are taking a little bit of the middle lot.
Okay, do we need any exemption on this one? Fire plan's in
Fire
place.
plan's already been in place, so
Okay.
no.
Move to approve preliminary and final.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Motion carries. Okay, preliminary and final plat for Shank Farm.
For relative years. Long lost cousin.
Maybe one.
I think that's on Tuesday's agenda, if I remember
Yeah,
right.
you're right, you're right.
Okay, so I think it is.
Yep.
So this is, a preliminary and a final plat for Carl and Nancy Shank, lots 1 and 2 of tract 1. We had some discussion with this one off and on, and we have, floodplain in here. And there's gonna be some issues with that over time. That'll depend on what ends up getting built and whatnot. So we'll deal more with the floodplain stuff as it gets built out. And then there is currently an access, that they've been going back and forth on, and I believe the access permit is on Tuesday's agenda, I believe. So so John will be talking to the commission about that access permit. So I do have a little bit of concern with the plat, just because we don't know exactly where the access is gonna be yet, and I think that usually we want that to show on the plat. So it'd be one of those things that, I mean, I think you could do a preliminary approval. If it would change based on what the commission's decided on Tuesday, we would have to update, the drawing, basically. So that's an option. There's a lot with the access on this. You can go through the plan, and we tried to kind of give you a rundown of it. They're wishing to subdivide and sell the southern portion of the lot. Property is owned park forest with 10 acres required to subdivide, so they meet that requirement. The total lot acreage is 94.44 acres, which would allow for 2. That doesn't make sense, it's allow for 2 residences. There'll be a private well, private septic system, all of that stuff would still be in place. And then the proposed access to the new lot is currently proposed to cross the Nicholson Trail from the North Rockford Road, so you kind of go in from there. There's only one residence on the lot 1. We have a note in here that says, per County Road Superintendent, there are no plans to allow the additional access on the North Rockford Road. There's been ongoing discussion with South Dakota Game Fish and Park. They did send an email in, and I know they've been in contact with the landowner, but we provided that in here. It's one of those situations that, we don't control what Game Fish and Parks does. That's kind of their own, they have to decide how they're going to allow access. But they did send a letter beforehand, so we usually try to submit them. Currently, we have not received a fire plan on this property yet. So that's usually a requirement of the preliminary plat. So at this point in time, we would still recommend denial of the preliminary plat and final plat until the access to the new lot is approved, which is through the county highway department. And we would still have to have a fire plan in place. So those 2 things aren't met. I think what has kind of happened with this is, because of this ongoing issue with the access, ideally, this plat probably should have waited until February, but we didn't really know some of this stuff until last week. So I think ideally, I don't necessarily even think you need to deny it. I think you could table it and then see what happens on Tuesday, and then we could adjust it accordingly once we know that. Is that fair
Yeah, it
enough?
feels like we're not ready to make a decision.
Yep, I moved to continue 2026-6.
I think.
Second.
that's something Brad, that you wanna share.
Well, yeah, I think, so the landowners are here as well. They met with John Bay and the Forest Service out there at that site. So there's an existing access for the southern property, and it's shown on the preliminary plat. There's an existing one down here near the south end. What they're asking to do is move that so it's contiguous with where the lot split would be. And that's the additional. So they're gonna remove that existing one and move to a new one. They met out on site, and it sounded like on site there wasn't a lot of issue, but I can let him speak to that.
When
But
was
these
this?
letters,
'Cause we did have a meeting with John Bay.
it was before these letters went out that they met. So I'll let you speak to that, but
Okay.
just to kind of get some.
My name is Carl Schenk, my wife Nancy. We own the property and have the house on the northern side. There is an access, there's a red barn right along Rochford Road. The cyanide lids are on it.
Very famous one.
Yeah,
Right here.
yeah, you're right along the trail. There is no filings of ownership for the right of way of the Mickelson Trail. We know it's there. But in my title work, I've had a couple of lawyers look at it, had the title companies look at it. The right of way is there, but nobody knows how to define it. It's on my adjacent properties to the north and south of me, but it was never entered onto my property, the legal paperwork. But I own the land underneath that right of way. So what we're trying to do is just slide that existing approach that the state uses for porta potties when they have events and things like that, making it even nicer for them and sliding it down to where the property line split is. If they don't want it there, we're happy to remove it and put it to the property line split. There is not much difference in slope coming off of Rochford Road. I disagree. I just saw the letter from John Day here today. I kind of thought things were ready to roll and everybody was on the same page. So I was a little bit blindsided by that. In my conversations with Shannon from the state, I apologize, I don't know his last name, but he's in charge of the Mickelson Trail. He kind of indicated what the county wants, we'll go with. When we built our house, all we did was go to the county. And the county said, and it was John Day's predecessor then. But he came out, he looked, he said the site distances were good. Yes, I approve it. And the state said, yes, if the county's good with it, we're good with it. And we just built it. Now this one, there seems to be more involvement. I'm not sure why.
Sure.
Times.
If I may, Carl, when we talked to John Bay, my impression was that his impression was that you're looking for two accesses close together. So this is the first time that I've heard of one access.
One access only.
And so that's interesting to know. And then, of course, again, I think to the extent that you approve the plat, that doesn't give anybody permission, doesn't affect the rights or respective responsibilities concerning the Mickelson Trail either, right? I mean, so you could approve a plat, but that doesn't, you're gonna ultimately need, I think, approval from them, are you not, to get across the Mickelson Trail at certain locations?
Yes.
You're gonna try to use it as a driveway?
No, we don't want to use it. We have to cross it.
Yeah.
But we do not wish to use it as a driveway.
So there's a lot going on here. Does that make sense? So, if you approve the plat, that does not mean automatically that they then have permission to cross the Mickelson Trail wherever they want. As a separate discussion with the state of South Dakota, talking about an approach now, or well, ultimately one approach.
Yeah, I think if you read John's letter, one, I do know, I mean, I talked to John after he met with you guys on there, so I'll be very, he came in and talked to me. It's not so much two accesses or not, yes, that's a discussion, but his concern is the grade coming off of North Rochford Road and putting in culverts. There's gonna have to be some pretty extensive to make sure that we're not causing a backup, one, because it is floodplain, and so that's like kind of a separate, the floodplain is gonna be a separate thing that we're going to have to deal with as soon as you put a culvert in there.
Right.
I think ultimately though, I am not comfortable approving the plat one way or another until you have the access, because let's say you guys agree to, okay, this access needs to go away, then we need to show that on the plat that that access gets removed and it gets moved down to this location. So I don't think either way this plat is correct, because we don't know what.
We don't know where the access is.
Yeah, we don't know what it's going to be.
And you have a motion in a second anyway.
Yeah.
I feel like that our continuing is best because we voted today, we'd probably have to deny it, and if we wait, then maybe we can get these issues.
Stuff can get
straightened out.
clarified.
I think that's the whole.
Get that clarification, and then we can approve.
You're the county commission rep, correct? On the
There's
planning
two of
commission.
them.
You stand by that
people.
one, yeah.
Okay, just, I don't know if I can make the 13th, we live in Yankton. But if you see this yellow right here, that's the existing access, just south of that red barn. And we want to move it to here. There is not much difference in grade between where this access is and where it's going. And we're happy at our expense to get rid of that one, put it here.
And I think the bigger concern is right up in this area, you have already a driveway going the other way, so you have that meeting point. And there is some pretty substantial culverts right up here. So I think it's not just a discussion of that, it's gonna be an extended discussion of culverts, what size goes in there, how does it get, if you remove one, how does it affect downstream? I think that's kind of more of some.
That's up to John.
Yeah.
It would be up to John on size, and then on top of that, Shanks would then have to do a floodplain development permit and go through engineering.
Or would the new owner need to do that when he goes?
No, I would bet that he's going to require it as part of the access, because you're gonna have to get rid of one and put new culverts in.
Okay.
So I don't know for sure yet, though. That's why we kind of have to have that access discussion, I think.
And I think there are 48-inch culverts out there.
I believe so. The other ones are.
Yeah, I put in some huge ones on my property, just so we overbuilt it. We looked at the closest county culvert and we doubled it.
Okay, we have a motion to continue in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, does that make sense? And then that way we can have Tuesday's discussion and we kind of.
Yes, the floodplain development one is the only one I'm,
Yeah.
who does that?
It'll be me.
Oh, okay, that's where I go.
Yep. Okay,
Okay.
so continue to the next meeting and we'll have a commission on Tuesday.
Okay, layout plan for Jensen, then and June.
All right. This one. Okay, so the owner is wishing to subdivide 8 lots of their existing 40 acres. This area is on park forest with 10 acres required to subdivide, allowing 8 lots for 40 acres, 2 acre minimum. The smallest lot would be 2.97 acres and the largest lot is going to be 8.81 acres. Surrounding lots are all zoned park forest. Access to the lots would have to be a 66-foot access utility easement previously dedicated in 1998. So it was an old access easement that was on there. Entering into the subdivision of a 66-foot private access and utility easement, indicating 2 accesses in and out of the subdivision. Recommendation that the owner reaches out to the highway superintendent again, questions on access, they'll have to deal with number requirements. The as-built plans would need to be submitted as we got closer to the preliminary plat phase. They would be serviced by individual shared wells to determine by the topography and individual septic. Sewer and water plans will not be submitted with this, which is pretty normal on lot sizes like this. Fire plan was completed in April of 2023. Nothing received showing mitigation has been done. So they did the plan part already, but we don't have that it was fully completed. But there's no improvements or infrastructure on the lots currently. Letter of credit, memorandum of agreement would be recommended at the time of preliminary planning, just like normal. So this is just your layout. And Randy is here to kind of help with some of the setting this up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, if I may. So the approach permit has already been permitted by the county commission where it hooks onto Crook City Road, and we verified that through John Bay. And they've actually started mobilizing to build the driveway along that 66-foot access and utility easement that was dedicated in 98. If you look in the corner there, you have track 5, which is document number 984548. I went up and got a copy of this because it shows additional 50-foot access that went across the railroad bed that was not litigated by that time going in. And so what the owner has done now is got a new access easement with the owner of tract B that goes straight through like it's showing here. So if you look at the map where the trail is up there, that's where the old easement used to be. Now that goes straight through. Okay, so if you look at the plat that's in your packet in the highlighted area, you see that that access kind of went north right there. That was to accommodate that 50-footer. We've now got an additional easement that goes straight through like that. And that's what's displayed on this map. So that's a little confusing when you look at this and you look at that. So it's a straight through easement now.
That's on the top right hand part of that.
Yeah, it's right. It used to jog right here. Now it goes straight.
Yeah,
through.
okay.
So we have about 1,320 feet. This easement was required by the county at the time we platted the Nonest Estates. This is the old Nonest place. So that was required at that time, not to isolate, but sooner or later became Tract 5 and this 40 acres. So it was always dedicated to this. And since that time, the litigation has come forward on the railroad, which was abandoned properly by the Federal Transportation Authority as a transportation corridor. The railroad group took that to the Supreme Court and they said, no, it's been abandoned properly. That is the model that's used across the United States on transportation corridor vacation. So it's proven that. That's why the landowners they saw earlier are now platting that into their property because they have title. So we've got the easement across that, and then we're doing a loop road. And the road you see on here is very preliminary. These lots are going to rearrange once we get the design done. We wanted to get the concept done, then we'll get into the design. Because why would you spend the money on a bunch of design if the concept doesn't go through? On the water system, we anticipate, we're proposing that it have individual wells because of the topography. We're going to try to have the people do 3 to 5 wells. But with the topography as it is, you have to be very selective on where you put those wells, depending on where you build your house. So if you look at the bigger 8.81 acre lot, there's several building sites on that, and you would place your well so you have gravity flow. You're not pumping it uphill to get to your house. So that's why we're doing individual wells and not a system, because the pumping system, if we brought into a system, would be hard to build and hard to manage. So we're following the ordinance on individual wells and individual septic tanks. The fire plan that was written with a different concept, so we're looking to get that updated with the preliminary plat so the mitigation meets the new design. So there will be an amendment to that fire plan. Some of the mitigation has been done, but it's not complete, obviously. And the reason we're updating it is when we get the road design done, you're going to have the impact of the clearing of the right of way, which will affect the fire plan. You'll have those corridors. So that will have an update. I've shown the adjacent trails and dotted lines around this, just to give you an idea. So that's in a nutshell what we're doing. The power is already in part of that easement, and we're just going to extend it further to the west. It's going to go underground, and that was the agreement with the landowner for the power, the landowner to the north. Did I cover everything?
I think so. Just to give you a general idea, the plat that you guys just approved for Halverson's is right. So this is that tract 1 that they just platted and took that old right of way out of. That's right adjacent to
that great big property that you saw.
The one that you just did, the bigger one. This is the corner of that.
So it'd be like tract 1 revised or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's tract 1 of Trick Mountain. So if you look back on your Halverson one, it's this piece basically right here. So it's not that far.
So I'm assuming that, and I realize the roads aren't final, but I'm guessing that they're drawn the way they are because of the topography.
Yes, that's why you see those elbows.
Yep.
And that's following a contour. So the side slope in there is fairly steep. If we can straighten those out in the design to get the volumes to match, we'll do that.
So what,
But
what grade do you anticipate seeing from?
well, we're trying to stay within the 10%. That's our goal.
And that's a doable goal, you think? Or-
You know, it's
Is that gonna be
reasonable
a
in
struggle?
most of the areas, I think. You know, I'm not gonna commit to it, but that's the way I lay these out, is to try to meet that criteria.
Mhm.
The hard part is to
That
getting
one part
getting
is 20.
from the elbow in.
Areas. That's a good
Elbow
answer
in.
there.
Yeah. But
We have
it's,
big dozers.
it's not as steep as what we've been dealing with in the northern hills recently.
Actually, up on top of this, I mean, to give you some context, because some of you guys want to hear, when Smoky Mountain was originally done, these tracks were created in the back, the Crook Mountain Yak Ranch. It was intended to be subdivided as additional phase off of Smoky Mountain, but he ended up not doing anymore and sold it all off. And that was probably 2000.
That was past after the Nonest event.
Yeah,
and
so I
this-
mean, it's actually not too bad. Okay, what's the layout? Basically what we had talked about before, he knows that he's gonna have to do fire plan and all of that stuff for additional phases to go forward.
Any other questions? Comments? Motions?
He's gonna everybody jump at once. Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a note if I could. I'm gonna have to come online to the commission meeting Tuesday morning.
We'll see if technology happens to work right then.
I can get it tested.
Yeah.
We'll take a quick break here.
Randy, have you heard from any of my people?
Who are your people? Oh, no, I have not for quite some
Do
time.
you remember my people?
Yeah, now I do. Now I do. I have not in a long time.
Good.
Yeah. So,
Well, hopefully you won't.
Are you guys going on to do
Well,
other stuff?
might hear from
No,
them.
we're done. As soon as he's back,
You got a couple things.
might have
Do you have
some.
this second?
We have an opportunity for comment from the public.
Oh,
You wanna make a comment?
I was gonna, no, I don't. I'm good, I think. I think you guys are doing an outstanding job. Do you have time to meet potentially after this to
I'm
discuss?
supposed to be at a thing over at the city at 3.
Okay.
I don't know how
Are
long
you
that
in
is.
tomorrow?
Oh, whoops. You're not gonna make that.
I'll be there. A little bit after. 3.
a little
What's tomorrow?
Usually go-
Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, what time am I coming in tomorrow?
Depends on what
7:30?
schedule you work on.
I know. Yes. We just talked about it. Yeah, I should be like after 9.
After 9? Okay. We just kind of like to sit down and
Recording.
go over it again.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
My wife watches.
Tomorrow.
I probably won't get supper tonight.
9 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah,
Okay.
let's go right at 9 tomorrow. That would work perfect.
Yeah, and then everybody's on the same page.
No, that sounds good.
Can you
Thank
be there,
you.
Bruce?
I'll be here tomorrow.
9 o'clock? And we're just trying to get legal access is all we want. Then we're not building a road or development, so. Okay, sounds good. 9 o'clock tomorrow. Okay.
Okay, items from planning and zoning board members.
I want to compliment our invasive species group on having these done ahead of time and management plans instead of, getting complaints from some other board members that we won't pay attention to them. But, I mean, they've already done all the
Yeah.
work. Yeah.
I looked through one of the first things.
Yeah, that's better.
Yep, it's way better.
Yeah. Okay, opportunity for public comment. And next meeting, February 5th, 2026 at 1:30. Okay, meeting adjourned.